Welcome to this explainer. We're jumping right into the psychological and mathematical realities of building true financial independence. If you've ever felt like you're running on a treadmill, just sweating, exhausted, but financially staying in the exact same spot, yeah, you are absolutely in the right place.
So let's dive into this paradox. It's something that frustrates, well, pretty much all of us. You finally get that raise or you land a better paying gig, your income shoots up, but somehow that extra money just completely vanishes. You still feel stretched totally thin. Why on earth does that happen? Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The happiness trap. 2. The millionaire myth. 3. Assets versus liabilities. 4. The power of compounding. And 5. Your new wealth mindset. Let's get into it. Section 1. The happiness trap. The psychology of why more money doesn't mean more happiness. Okay, so this all boils down to a brilliant academic concept coined back in 1971 by researchers Brickman and Campbell. It's called the hedonic treadmill. Basically, this explains that as our income rises, our expectations and desires, they rise right along with it. We buy the nicer car, we upgrade to the bigger apartment, but very, very quickly we adapt. Our baseline completely resets, leaving us in the exact same place emotionally. And because of that, we're constantly prompted to buy things we don't really need just to chase that temporary spike of joy. Now, researchers Frederick and Lowenstein break down 3 distinct ways our brains actually habituate to these new circumstances. First up, we've got shifting adaptation levels. That's where getting a huge bump in salary suddenly just feels like the new neutral. Then there's desensitization, where we literally become less sensitive to the positive changes around us. And finally, sensitization. This is where continuous exposure actually increases our selectivity. Think of it like becoming a huge wine snob who can suddenly no longer enjoy a perfectly fine, cheap bottle of grocery store wine. Together, these 3 processes keep us firmly trapped on that emotional treadmill, spending more and more just to feel normal. Moving on to Section 2, the millionaire myth. Debunking the flashy lifestyle. Wealth is what you accumulate, not what you spend. Thomas Stanley, the co-author of The Millionaire Next Door, absolutely hit the nail on the head with this one. It totally shatters the mass media myth that wealth equals this lavish, high-consumption lifestyle. Look, we are completely conditioned by TV and social media to think wealth looks like luxury cars and massive mansions. But in reality, if you're spending all your money on those things, you aren't wealthy at all. You just have really, really high expenses. Let's look at the pause, the prodigious accumulators of wealth. These are the quiet, super frugal people who live well below their means. They actually have twice the expected net worth for their age and income. Now compare them to the UAWs, the under-accumulators of wealth. These are the folks with the flashy lifestyles, driving the fancy cars. But guess what? They sit in the bottom quartile. They have half the expected net worth for their age and income. And honestly, they often live quietly insecure lives, totally terrified of losing the high-paying jobs that fund their whole facade. So how exactly do the pause pull it off? Well, research found 7 proven denominators. These are basically the frugal habits of average people who successfully build wealth over the long haul. First, they live well below their means on a strict budget. They use their time, energy, and money incredibly efficiently. They prioritize financial independence way over displaying social status. They don't rely on parental handouts, and they raise their adult children to be totally self-sufficient. Plus, they actively leverage market opportunities and, crucially, they choose the right vocation. In short, they play aggressive offense with generating income and a stellar game of defense with their spending. Section 3. Assets versus liabilities. The mechanical truth of wealth. The rich don't work for money. This quote from Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is a total paradigm shift. Most of us are taught, get a good job, work hard, cross your fingers for continuous pay raises. But truly wealthy individuals, they shift their entire focus. They realize that if you focus only on ordinary earned income, you are going to be working hard for that income for the rest of your life. The fundamental rule of financial literacy is actually beautifully simple. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket, whether you're working or not. Think rental properties, dividend-paying stocks, or a business. That is positive cash flow. A liability, on the other hand, is something that takes money out of your pocket every single month. Your personal car payment, a massive home mortgage. People stay broke because they pack their lives with liabilities that they've been falsely led to believe are actual assets. But here's where it gets super fun. Having financial intelligence doesn't mean you can never have nice things, right? The Kiyosakis shared this amazing story where Kim wanted this beautiful 60-foot sailboat. Now, normally, a boat is a giant liability. Dock fees, maintenance, loans, the whole shebang.
But instead of saying, I can't afford this, they asked, how can I afford this? They ended up putting the boat into a Hawaiian charter company. So when they weren't using it, the boat was rented out. The cash flow from the charter business completely paid for the expenses of the boat. They masterfully morphed a fund liability into a cash-flowing asset. How brilliant is that?
Section 4. The power of compounding. The growth engine. Enter compound interest. In the absolute simplest terms, this is interest earning interest. Your money earns a return, and then that return earns its own return. This economic principle heavily rewards long-term thinking. It basically means the sooner you start saving and investing, the more time this mathematical snowball has to work its absolute magic.
Let's watch this step by step just to see how a small amount builds incredible momentum. Say you invest $1,000 at a 5% interest rate. Okay, so in year 1, you earn $50. Not bad. But in year 2, you aren't just earning on your original $1,000, you're earning on $1,050. So now you earn $52.50. In year 3, you earn on over $1,100. Year after year, the amount you earn grows, building this unstoppable momentum. Assuming you make 0 withdrawals, by simply leaving that money alone and letting the returns reinvest, that initial $1,000 exponentially grows to over $1,600 by the 10th year, and you worked exactly 0 extra hours for it. Now just imagine scaling that exact principle across decades with real estate, stocks, and business investments. That is exactly how the wealthy build empires. Section 5, your new wealth mindset, applying the lessons. Look, if you take away just one single thing from this explainer, let it be this. True financial well-being requires you to break free from that hedonic treadmill of consumption. You have got to stop focusing purely on ordinary earned income, where you are literally trading your precious time for dollars, and instead put your time, energy, and focus into acquiring true assets that provide ongoing, passive cash flow. Because ultimately, wherever you put your focus, that area of your life is going to grow. So I will leave you with this question to spark your own journey toward lasting financial independence. What new assets are you building today?